Why is pain such a pain? What is it that we're feeling? What does it mean when we feel pain? Great questions. Okay, so to understand pain, we need to understand how the body works and how it processes things that are going on inside of it. And to realize that pain is not an early warning signal by the body. Let me ask you this, okay? Do you know what the top 2 disease processes that most of us will die of? What do you think they are? Okay, well, one is that thing that beats inside of us, right? Heart disease, number 1. What's number 2? Yeah, it's cancer, right? So those top 2 things, right? And these 2 diseases have affected all of our families. There's no question about it, right? That's what most of us will die of. Now, when you think about heart disease and cancer, when do most people find out they have heart disease? What eventually will happen? Yeah, that's right. It's a heart attack, right? And sometimes that heart attack can be fatal, right? And that fatal heart attack is impossible to come back from. There's no coming back from it. And again, I'm sure it's affected your family as it's affected mine. In my family, my grandfather was my first exposure to heart disease that way. He was coming off the golf course. He was only 71 years old at the time, which now sounds pretty young. Coming off the golf course, has a massive heart attack, and they were unable to resuscitate him in the parking lot of that course. And you think, well, he was very robust. He was very active. He was playing. This was in January, in the winter, up in New York. He's playing golf, and he was always very, very active. He felt really good, so therefore, he thought he was very healthy. But obviously, if he had a fatal heart attack, he was very sick, right? We do not have fatal heart attacks unless the heart disease is very pronounced, right? The other disease process is cancer. And again, it's affected all of our families. When do most people find out they have cancer? Is it early in the process or late in the process? And the answer to that, of course, right, as you know, is usually it's late unless we're very, very fortunate that it's detected early. And usually it's detected early either by regular screenings like mammograms or colonoscopies, which are very, very important to do, or it's found when we're looking for something else and we just happen across it, okay? So if heart disease is so bad, if cancer is so bad, how come as soon as it starts to happen, as soon as it starts to develop, why don't we feel it? Why doesn't that heart disease, the changes that are associated with it, why don't those cancer cells, as soon as they start to grow, why don't they cause pain? And the answer is that that's not the way the body's set up. All right? I wish it was. It would make maintaining our bodies so much easier if pain was an immediate response by the body when something was abnormal, when there was any kind of problem developing. But it isn't. It's always late in the stage. The only exception is trauma. If you stub your toe against the dresser in your bedroom, as we've all done, and after we use some vocabulary we may not use on a regular basis and we're hopping around the room, we feel the pain almost instantaneous with the incident itself, right? They both come on at just about the same time, okay? Well, that's the exception, of course. Usually pain when it comes to problems inside of our body, heart disease and cancer are great examples, but also things like arthritis, right? Things like back problems or knee problems or shoulder problems, those all typically develop on a very slow timeline, getting a little bit worse each day and a little bit worse to the point where we really don't feel them. And maybe along the way, occasionally we might feel something, right? Well, that occasional pain, right, goes away in most cases. When it goes away, what do we think? Yeah, we think the problem's gone, right? Every day I have patients that come to me, oh, I got this knee pain that comes and goes, or shoulder pain, or hip pain, or back pain that comes and goes. And it's really, what the patients are actually saying is, I have this pain that's coming and going, right? Isn't that what's coming and going? The problem itself is actually progressive and just getting worse on a daily basis, even though we can't necessarily feel that progression. But often when we have pain that comes and goes over the years, that pain comes in a more frequent timeline. And typically the intensity is worse as well. All right, so we get more frequent episodes and the intensity of the pain during those episodes increases. Why? Because the problem is progressive. It's getting worse and worse and worse as we go along. Therefore, what we need to do is we need to recognize this when it comes to the body and not simply take care of ourselves based on how we feel. But that's tough to do, isn't it? Because we've been trained to take care of our body from when we were little boys and girls by our parents who were trained by their parents, right? What happened when you got sick when you were young? Right? Mom and dad took you to the doctor. Maybe they gave you something. You went home, you felt better. Did you go back to the doctor after you felt better? Nope, not until you got sick again, right? So what did you learn when you were young? What we all learned when we were young was, hey, if I feel something's wrong, I go get it addressed. After I start to feel better, I'm good again. I'm good. I'm ready to roll, right? I got no issues. At least I don't feel anything. Therefore, we think we have no issues. But lots of things, as the examples we were just talking about, can be going on in the body, which can be deadly, right? Life-threatening. But when we don't feel them, we think that they're not there anymore. Therefore, we need to be smarter about that when it comes to our bodies and realize that most of the time, we're not going to feel what's going on inside of our body. So therefore, we have to maintain our bodies in order to make sure that we don't end up having these developed problems that are much, much harder to treat, and in some cases impossible to treat if they progress to a certain point. Right? So we need to be on top of that and understanding that, first of all, and then finding the healthcare professionals that can help us address those issues wherever we may happen to be. Right?